Hey guys, something that we are excited to tell you about is a company that is taking wine to the next level. If you've been at a restaurant or grocery store trying to pick out a bottle of wine but had no idea where to start, like me, or you're just looking for a unique event for your friends, family, or coworkers, In Good Taste is a new type of winery that can help you do both. Their mini wine bottle tasting flights help people with varying degrees of wine knowledge learn more about wine. In Good Taste provides tasting flights and complimentary virtual tasting over Zoom. The tastings create a safe space for novices and pros to ask questions about the wine, the regions, food pairings, etc. Unlike the traditional lecturing at most wineries, In Good Taste provides a fun event with trivia and quirky food pairings like which wine pairs best with Crunchwrap Supremes. Each mini bottle is one glass of wine, so you're getting 2 full bottles of wine, but in a variety for just $65. This lets you learn more while committing to less.
All that sacrifice, and we're illegal. Like my brother and I, we're illegal at this point. So we're like, we're going back and we're probably not coming back.
Right.
And now we know this other life. Now we know electricity and water and buildings and grass, right? Right. And free lunch at school, right? So I remember that. And we're going back. And as soon as we get to Mexico, I'm around 9 years old. And my mother is like, hey, this isn't the end of us. A lot of people ask me like, hey man, how did you get to where you are today? 27 companies, in the single family residential space, one of the top leading, investors in the single SFR space. How did you get there?
All right, and welcome to the Darren Woodson Show. Really excited about today's guest. And we say that a lot, but I'm really excited for our listeners to hear the story of this man, the resilience, the drive that he has. So we talk about the American dream, and we talk about the opportunities that we have and the freedom to do what you want. Mm-hmm. And this man right here is as good of an example as there is that I've seen. So Carlos Reyes is here with us, and thank you so much for joining us in studio. We love the in-person, right? Because it's real. Like it's one thing looking at a screen, then it's another thing, BSing with you right next to us. So appreciate you coming in,
man. Big fan, right? I'm a big fan.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
I have a lot of respect for my man Darren here. Heard a lot of great things from Joe. My father-in-law, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, we'll get into it right now.
Okay.
We'll get into it right now. I think
connect. There's like,
we didn't know about this.
7 degrees from Kevin Bacon.
World.
Where does he fit into this thing?
Okay, so Joe Pena and my brother Randy, Randy passed away a couple years ago. Joe Pena and Randy were best of friends growing up, not through Isaac Jr. from junior high to high school, and then worked together. We're dear friends throughout the years. So Joe is Carlos's father-in-law. And it just brought it back full circle. And that's why I'm so excited about this interview today, because this takes me back to my childhood, because I grew up in the Maryville area.
West Phoenix.
Joe's from West Phoenix. Yep. Carlos came up through that area. And we all know, Carlos, what that area looks like. Absolutely. And what it's been through.
Yep.
Throughout the years.
Maryville Hospital.
Hospital, yeah. And there's not a lot of hope. It hasn't been a lot of hope in that area. So on today's show, and I'll let Tyler, take us back here, but today's show, we want to talk about your journey.
Absolutely.
And how you got here. We can get to you being a serial entrepreneur, but I want to go back, because there's so many kids that are going to be listening to this show that are from the Maryville area that want to hear your story and the adversity that you had to overcome to get to where you are today.
I mentioned something yesterday. I posted something on Instagram, one of my stories. I said, I've never been a guy that cares about the attention and the lights. I don't care about that stuff. The stuff that fulfills me is, my family, right? My businesses, my home, right? And I feel like I have a duty to actually encourage and empower, and inspire other people. And the word inspire, like in spirit,
right.
Actually move their spirits. So I feel like I have a duty, and if it wasn't for that duty, I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing now, right? Like, for example, being here today with you guys, I'm also an in-person kind of guy because I'm all about energy, and I flew here for that reason.
Right.
I flew here for that reason. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say you get MVP guest award because you flew to be here in person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You traveled the longest of any guest we've had.
I have a lot of respect for Darren, and because of the history with Darren, and because of the history between him and my father-in-law, that hits home for me because Joe has been like a second father to me. I didn't grow up with the father,
right.
And with that being said, let's get into my story. I was actually born in Mexico. I was born in Hermosillo, Sonora, which is the capital of a northern state in Mexico, Sonora. And then, at an early age, about 2-3 years old, my mother was, she was, my father was kind of a drug addict and an alcoholic. So one day he came home and he put my mother and myself against the wall and he started shooting at us. And my mother was like, okay, well, the next time, he may just take our lives. So I'm going to flee from this man. I'm going to run away from this man. And we moved an hour and a half south, which was even way more poor, right? Like it was like dirt poor. When I said dirt poor, I can show you pictures of the house that we grew up in with my grandma, where it's like dirt floors, dirt roads, right? No electricity. We had no electricity. I didn't have electricity till around the 6th grade. All these lights you see here, I had gas lamps with like little these cases of like it's like glass, it's like the little, there's this little burning flames. Yeah, old school. I didn't have electricity.
No running water.
No running water. I can tell you how we got water. There was a water truck that would come around the neighborhood, with the right, and we had these big old blue, like huge buckets in the front. Like my grandma used to keep 3 huge buckets in the front yard. And we would pay the man to give us water from that truck into those buckets. And out of those buckets, we would, take showers. We would wash our clothes. And that's how we would have like drinking water. And that was kind of my childhood, man. Like I can vividly describe to you that we lived in this little small house made out of like wood and something else. I can't even describe it. It was like, it's not cardboard, but it's not like this, It's different. And we had like laminate roofing, roofing, right? I mean, whatever was economically convenient, right? And my grandfather built like a little tiny spot at the corner of the house, right? Because it was literally, this room is bigger than the house that I grew up in. Okay, it was probably about 300 square feet. This house, and on one side, my grandfather and my grandmother slept in one bed. And on the other side, my brother and myself, we slept in a small bed, and then my mother slept in her bed, right? And then in that little corner, he built like this little tiny concrete with a little sewer thing in the middle. And the way that we would shower is my grandma would actually warm up the water, right, out of a fire, right, and then put it in a bucket, and then with another plastic container, that's how I took showers. That's how I took showers most of my childhood, right? And then in the back, my mother and my grandma, they washed on a washing board. They washed the clothes and they hung it on these lines, in the backyard. We had a back house where we would, go to the restroom in that my grandfather built. And that was my childhood. And then, if you're wondering how the hell I'm here.
Yeah. Well, but at that point though, you're there. Did you know anything different? Did you expect anything different?
Ignorance is bliss. I'm very thankful that I didn't know any better, because when you're that poor, like you're talking like, have you guys ever seen that movie Slumdog Millionaire?
Oh yeah.
Right? Like on some third world country type of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I just didn't know any better.
Right.
So I wasn't, when you don't know any better, ignorance is bliss.
And that's the crazy thing is, I'm sure as a kid, you're playing around with the kids out in the neighborhood or whatnot.
Most of them didn't have shoes.
Exactly.
No, most of them didn't have.
Really?
Most of them did not have shoes. Yep. The only reason why I had shoes was because my mother, first and foremost, some of the family would help us out here and there. But once my mother went, when she came to the United States, right, she kind of unintentionally abandoned us for 2 years. And that was a whole nother type of suffering, when you're a kid and you're poor, and then your mother's not around, right? She would send money, so you can actually have some shoes, because Nobody in my neighborhood has shoes. People were playing soccer without shoes. I remember me actually trying to walk and run and play soccer without shoes. Like I was like, okay, I can do this, you know, and my feet became like tough
right.
on rocks.
Right.
I was going to say, like, this part of Mexico, grass is not.
There's no grass.
Yeah.
There's no grass. There's no grass. When I came to the States, I remember seeing lights and running water, and I rolled around in a patch of grass because I'm like, this was beautiful. It was like, literally like, to me, it was like the land of milk and honey when I came to this country. Right.
That's saying something too, because you were in what, Phoenix when you came? Or
No. The first time, I'll tell you, watch this. The first time my mother crossed me through a sewer system near Tijuana, Mexico, which is the border of California. Yep. Right. There was a small spot called San Isidro. She was trying to cross us through the border system. Through the border, through a sewer system, and we got caught, kicked out. Went back to my aunt's house in TJ, waited 48 hours, made another attempt. We got through, went to Escondido, California, in San Diego County, and we lasted 3rd and 4th grade there. And it was like my mom was working the fields. That's how she got her paperwork through Amnesty, right? Right. So we only lasted 2 years. It was way too expensive. California was way too expensive for my mother, myself, my brother, and we went back to Mexico, right? And at this point,
how old were you when you went back?
5th grade, so about nine years old.
Okay.
Yep.
But okay, so let's do this, because I want to go through the first time you came through, and you explained a little bit of it right there. But the first time, the journey, the first time, you said your mother had left
for 2 years.
For 2 years. She came back to get you, and then you went back. Tell us about that journey. Were there coyotes that were helping you?
The first time, no. The first time, no. The first time my mother knew exactly what to do, like where to go and what to do, right? Okay. The second time when I went to Phoenix, Arizona, because again, we failed financially in California and we were completely depleted, like discouraged. Imagine, I sacrificed like 2 years of not being with my mom, right? And then, she sacrificed 2 years of not being with her children. And then she saves up enough money finally to like create a place for us, like an apartment. It was like a 1-bedroom apartment that she brought us to. And then we last like a year and a half, 2 years. So on the way back, right, we're like, we're pretty distraught. We're done. We're like all that sacrifice, and we're illegal. Like my brother and I, we're illegal at this point. So we're like, we're going back and we're probably not coming back.
Right.
And now we know this other life. Now we know electricity and water and buildings and grass, right? Right. And free lunch at school, right? So I remember that. And we're going back. And as soon as we get to Mexico, I'm around 9 years old. And my mother is like, hey, this isn't the end of us. A lot of people ask me like, hey man, how did you get to where you are today? 27 companies, one of the, in the single family residential space, one of the top leading, investors in the single SFR space. How did you get there, right? You didn't have no programming. You didn't read no books, right? You didn't have a father. How did you get there? Well, I believe it was my mom's programming and my mom's demonstration of hustle, visionary, made sacrifices, work ethic like crazy, never gave up. See, little did I know, I was getting all my programming from her. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So we go back and my mother's like, hey, this isn't the end of us. This is what we're going to do. Now she's planning it out. Right. She's like, I'm going to work at this resort cleaning hotel rooms and then you're going to bag groceries. And then I'm going to use my money to survive and we're going to use your money to save up so I can make another try to Phoenix. Right. And about a year later, I'm bagging groceries. I'm about a year in. I'm 9 years old. I'm working at a retail company called La Ley, which is a huge, it's owned by Chinese people. It's like Walmart down there, right? And I'm just bagging groceries. I got my hat, my apron, my ID. I speak a little English now, so I'm getting better tips, right? Bag groceries, take them out to the car, ask for a tip. I'm actually making more money than my mom is. Wow. My mom was making, I would say, man, I think it was about $35 a week. Cleaning hotel rooms.
A week. Wow.
And I was making about $15 to $20 a day. Like I was the breadwinner at this point at 9 years old.
10 years old.
Oh yeah.
So where in Mexico? Did you stay in Tijuana?
Guaymas.
Okay.
Guaymas, Sonora, near San Carlos Bay.
Okay.
About an hour from there. San Carlos is like the really nice resort area, right? And then, man, it's funny. Anytime I go back, you know, it's like a dream to me, right? Because I stay in like San Carlos Bay, and I smoke like a Cuban cigar out there, and I'm just like, how my life has come full circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
How did you get here?
I couldn't never afford to stay at a place like that, you know? And now when I go back, that's where I stay, right? When I go visit family. So anyway, you know, back to, you know, I save up enough money. She comes to Phoenix. She's working out on the fields. It's 120 degrees out there, right? She's out there working the fields. What do you call those places where you're? It's like it's a lot of plants and trees.
Arbor
Nursery.
Nursery.
Like a nursery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She's working in a nursery, right? And she saves up enough cash, but this time she's like, I'm only going to bring one of you first, because last time I brought both of you and we couldn't afford it. I don't want to make that same mistake, right? So she sends for her oldest, which is me, first, and then she pays a coyote this time $25 to jump me through the fence. So there's a hole in the fence in Nogales, Sonora. She pays him $25, and you know, I'm about 10, 11 years old. I'm actually entering the 7th grade at this point. And she says, hey, you know, mijito, which is my son, you're going to listen to this man. He's going to take you to me on the other side. So she pays this dude, and she's like, if he tells you to run, you run, jump, whatever. He's going to take you over to me. And sure enough, this guy, you know, I get under this guy's wing. He tells me to duck, run, jump. We go through the fence in Nogales. I meet my mom at McDonald's in Nogales, Arizona, right? The other side.
Right.
And then she kind of just contrabands me up in a shuttle. You know, she contrabands me up in a shuttle. And this is another part of the story that I actually just found out through my mother, because I like to pick my mother's brain from all this, you know, because I'm like, I need to know.
There's so much to unpack, by the way, on this whole story. But yeah, finish this thought.
Watch this. So now we're in a shuttle, right? And a shuttle, it's a van that takes legal residents, legal immigrants to Phoenix from Nogales. But then, you know, she's like, hey, we're going to get stopped by an immigration officer. So who doesn't have papers? And my mom, man, you guys won't believe this. My mom's like, hey, my son doesn't have papers, but if you don't say anything, you know, I'll give you $500. And she didn't have $500.
Right.
I'll give you $500. Just don't say anything. Take me to the house, and I'll give you $500. So the driver's like, okay, it's a big risk, but that's fine. Man, my mom, she's a hustler. I feel bad about this, but she has him take us to a whole different place where it wasn't her house.
Right.
And we just run.
Like, you just took off.
We just took
off.
Yeah. She did not have $500.
That's right. Yeah.
This is the year is 1997.
Right.
She did not have $500 to give this man, so we just took off. And then my mom started my immigration paperwork process in 1997, and then I became first I got a work permit, and then a year later I got a resident card, and then 5 years later I became a citizen of so. That was kind of it was a long. It was long. It was
yeah.
lengthy.
There's a lot to unpack. Okay, so I want to first focus on.
By the way,
your
I don't
mother.
think my father-in-law has ever heard my story completely.
No.
He's over there like his face is like,
What happened?
yeah.
You did what?
Yeah, that's who your daughter married.
You know what though? You know what the respect I have for mom? By any means.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
just
Your
gonna
mother.
say.
By any
Your
means
mother.
necessary.
To this day.
Yes.
To this day.
But think even going back to when, hey, I'm going to go away from my children, and like motherly instinct to leave her children, to go sacrifice herself and literally backbreaking work to then provide to make one attempt.
That's
and
her
then to
legacy.
go
Yeah.
and then come back and then do it again.
Brother,
and
that's her legacy.
I think about, you're talking about, okay, in a year from now, okay, hey, we're going to work our asses off for a year to save up enough to make another attempt. Not even a sure thing, an attempt. And then to go, okay, now as a mother, I have to choose which one of my sons are going to come up with me. So now, okay, I've got to think through what's the most logical way to do it. Okay, my oldest, he can work, he can do some things. Okay, this is smart. But I mean, to have to do that, I mean, the strength that takes blows my the vision.
Like that's it. I mean, first of all, overcoming adversity. That's one thing you've gotten from your mother, right? You've overcome. You understand how that. You know, she's passed that
and
on,
not
right?
the like the foofy like overcome adversity. Like that's legit adversity.
real.
That's not the adversity we make up on a Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly.
That's legit.
But to have the vision to say, okay, look, Like, this is like entrepreneurial shit right here, right? Like, have the vision to say, okay, I have to go back and get one. Yep. This one can work. He's the oldest. He can work. He can win. He can, make some money real quick, and then we can figure out the way to go get the next. I mean, just to have that vision to take. Sometimes you got to take the emotion out of it and say, I need to make the right decision and game plan it. And to me, it's like, that's brilliant on your mother's part.
My first job was between the 7th and 8th grade on that summer. I was picking up trash and people that were flipping houses. Mm-hmm. So subconsciously,
you started.
I wanted to be a real estate investor. Right. Subconsciously, I was too young to work. Right, I'm between 7th and 8th grade, and they're like, "Hey, we can't give you like legit work." This was like some other Mexican people. I mean, you guys know a lot of construction people are Hispanic and they're amazing, right? We can't really pay you like. First of all, you're illegal. Right. Yeah. Right. Second, you're a kid.
Also, you're 12.
Yeah, you're a kid.
Right.
Right. So, but what you could do is on a wheelbarrow, if you just pick up all the trash, man, I was picking up trash the entire summer. I was getting there around 5 o'clock in the morning. I did that 7th and 8th grade. Yeah. And I was watching these guys put these houses together. Right. I'm like, man, like, cause I'm picking up all the trash, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm watching these guys. Like, I'm like, man, one day I think I want to do that. I want to like flip these houses, right? Mm-hmm. This is the 8th grade. And then I wrote, in the 8th grade, I went to a school called Phoenix Preparatory Academy. Mm-hmm. All right. And I had like straight A's. Like I was like honor roll and all that, right? Mm-hmm. I was a good student. So they were like, hey, write down what you want to, in 8th grade, they're like, what do you want to do when you grow up, right? Like Darren's probably like, well, I want to be a football player, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm like, well, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I want to be a lawyer, a cop, or an investor. Right. And I went to Southbound Police Academy. I'm sure my father-in-law remembers that. And I passed every test. And before I signed, like, okay, well, you're going to start at like 18 something an hour. And I was like, whoa. Right. I'm going to risk my life every day for $18 an hour. Right. I'm like, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, I absolutely respect, anybody.
Well, and even knowing that too, right? Like that's the pay that you get and the risk that you're putting out there.
Yeah. So what I did, right? I was like, well, then I started training to be like a Navy SEAL, right? Mm-hmm. I started literally training to be a Navy SEAL. Mm-hmm. I went to like the Tough Mudder. I passed, like I did all kinds of stuff.
Where did that come from?
Navy SEAL. One of my childhood heroes growing up was David Robinson.
Yeah.
He was the admiral.
The admiral,
Navy guy, right? And I used to like watch his journey and like everything he did. And I was like, man, I want to go to the Navy and see the world. And right. So then I started doing that. And then I got into real estate. Then I read a book called Flip by Nick Reyes. It was a $10 book because I was dead broke. I couldn't afford to buy courses, pay for mentorship, go to events. I buy this book for $10 and I start reading it, man. And when you know, like, right, when you know, right? Mm-hmm. When it just hits you, right? Something just like clicks and changes. Mm-hmm. You're like, damn, there's nothing else in the world matters. This is what I'm going to do. I became obsessed. Like I became obsessed with becoming a real estate investor, even though I had no credit, no money, no experience, no LLC, no nothing. And my journey started then, back in.
Let's back up a little bit. So high school. So you go to high school. What happened after high school for you? Like you talked about going to the police academy.
Corporate America.
Okay. So what was that? What did you college?
I was at no college.
Okay. No. Right into.
I was an entrepreneur. I was the ultimate yes man. I started. I got to manage.
Entrepreneur. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I was an entrepreneur growing inside of a company. I actually I had my first management position at the age of 19. Wow. I was managing 8 people at the age of 19. I was making people millions of dollars at the age of 19. Right. And then I started growing with that company, right? I was the ultimate yes man. I became a regional manager. They're like, hey, we need you to, I know it's Christmas, but we need you to fly to Seattle and spend 30 days there. Our stores are suffering. Right. I would fly to Seattle. Hey, we need you in Texas. We need you in California. Right. And I'll be honest, guys, the most I ever made with that company, even though I was making them millions of dollars, was $70,000 in a year. And I don't remember the last time that I made less than that in a month. Full circle again. Full circle.
So when did the bell hit? I mean, when did it ring to think, you know what? I'm making all this money for these guys.
I'll tell you when it hit. I'll tell you. I'm working 4 years to go. I'm working for this position to go from making $70K a year to making $110,000 a year. And for 4 years, I'm the only guy training and making all the sacrifices, right? And then when it gets time to give me that position, they're like, hey, we know that you've been training for this position, but we just have to, for political sakes, right? We have to make it to where everybody gets a shot. And I'm like, but nobody's been working towards this. I'm the only one working towards this. I'm ranked number 1, right? And out of all the managers, I was ranked number 1. And they're like, I know, you got it, but we just gotta be fair and give interviews to the top whatever. So this guy, he gives that position to one of his best friends that he used to travel the world with. That was ranked 17th. He wasn't even like top 3, top 5 to qualify for this position. And what that did for me was, I'm like, wow, right? That was my world just got completely swiped from underneath my feet. And I'm like, wow, so I have no control here.
I was just going to say, you have zero control over your future. Yeah.
No control. And I was devastated for like 2 weeks. They're like, oh, we're so sorry. Take 2 weeks off paid. Like that's how like they,
that's going to make it right.
Try to make it right. And in those 2 weeks, man, something happened. I was like, okay. I just went back to my childhood, because I had, that's one thing that I recently noticed. I'm like, I became too Americanized. What does that mean? Right? What does it mean to become too Americanized? Go to school, get a job, get an IRA, get a 401k, retire at 60, 65, and survive.
Right.
I became too comfortable and too Americanized. So I dug deep back into, my upbringing, and I dug deep and I'm like, all right, my goal, my dream was always to have my own business and retire my mother, right? Since I was a 5-year-old kid. That's what I used to tell my mother in Mexico. One day I'm going to have a business and I'm going to retire you. And sure thing, in 2017, I retired, my mother. Like my mom never has to, my mom just went my mom just went to Mexico. I let her borrow, I got a Sprinter van, like a huge, Sprinter van that right, the Sprinter van. I don't even know why I bought that van, right? Like literally, for
your mom, man.
Darren just got one last year too. So
I bought a Sprinter van for no reason, cash, right? And I'm like, here, mom, go to Mexico, take the whole fam, and then I break her off with a few $1,000s to spend down there. Like that's the life that my mom is now living. You know what I mean? And so one of my dreams is completely.
That's how good does that feel to be able to do that for your mother? We don't live in the present enough, right? Like as entrepreneurs, I wish I can live like in gratitude every day, because you're right. That does give me a lot of gratitude, a lot of appreciation. And that's one thing that I need to be better at, because I have so much going on. I'm getting pulled in so many different directions. You can only imagine running 27 companies, right?
Right.
It's not like, if it wasn't for, honestly, like we were just discussing this with one of my guys here, that if it wasn't for like the leaders that I've been able to like hire, train, develop, and put into positions, I would not, like, I would just lose my mind. I would lose my mind, I would be in Wyoming in a ranch next to Kanye, like no disrespect, right? Kanye, right? Because, you need people. Like you need people you can depend on. And you know what? I'm very thankful for corporate America that I got all my, all my education.
Yeah.
Right, as a manager, like how to like hire and train and develop, and how to put systems together and processes, right?
Cut your teeth,
like KPIs, like everything. I got all that from. I didn't go to college, man, so I got all that from corporate.
And that's
America.
the best thing that happened to you. The best thing that happened to you.
Trust the process.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
But at that time, you don't know. Like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that.
That's the second phrase that you hear often. Number 1 is adversity, and number 2 is trust the process. But for some reason, coming from you, it just hits me different.
It's different. Yeah.
It's so different after hearing your story. I got to ask, because I'm always fascinated by this. You talked about being obsessed and going after things and wanting to take care of your mom. When you're just trying to survive, what's your relationships with goals at that point in your life? Meaning you had these goals, but at the same time, I'm just trying to live. So how did you view goals? How did you attack goals as a kid growing up? I know it changed a little bit, after your high school days, but what was it like growing up?
So, you always got to have like a North Star, right? If you have a North Star, like your North Star was to become a professional football player.
Absolutely.
Right? Your North Star was to become a professional football player, right? Your North Star was to become really good looking. I don't know what your North Star was, right? Whatever.
Still looking at that one.
Right?
I'm still chasing that North Star.
Right?
I'm
really
still
far
chasing
north.
Yeah, right? So, man, once you have that North Star, right, you have that target, if you just become obsessed with accomplishing that, and you just never give up, you're eventually going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get there if you don't give up.
Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately, statistically, 97% of people give up.
Right.
Yep.
97% of people give up. Right. And there's another statistic that one of my mentors, because that's another thing that I strongly encourage anybody that's watching as an entrepreneur, get yourself mentors. You know, I have mentors. I have like a board of advisors that I go to when I need, help in certain areas of my life. Right. I have a spiritual mentor, Christian Ferris, out in, he's a pastor in Tampa. I have like a financial mentor, billionaire mentor, Ed Cobell. Him and his brother own a company called Deportations Development. They actually used to own the Niners at one point.
Yeah, the Bartolos.
Yeah, that's one of my mentors.
Yeah.
Small world.
Eddie, is that Eddie?
Ed Cobell. Yeah. Huge developer, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
He developed outdoor malls or outlets, they're called now, right? I have personal development mentors. Tanya, who I had a 40-minute convo this morning. We did like breathing meditation, things like that. I have another personal development mentor up in Sedona named Jeremy Wilson. I surround myself with, a lot of mentors, and I want to encourage people out there. Once you get to a certain level and you can afford these resources, invest into yourself. You're your best investment.
Yeah. But talk about the people that are like, you don't have the resources, and I want to just somebody that I look up to that can give me advice that maybe has been there or gone through some of the things. Now that you still have mentors, but you're on the success side of it and you've done it. Talk about, from the mentor's perspective, how much you do like mentoring other people and not to be scared to ask for help.
You know what, guys, I started like really mentoring people in 2018, and I started helping other people build 7-figure real estate companies. And man, it's a beautiful thing, because all you're doing, you're just passing on the knowledge.
That's right.
It's play by play. I feel like a football coach.
Yeah.
I'm like Bill Belichick when it comes to single family residential, right? We look at, we look at key performance indicators. We look at the sales, hey, how's your conversion? Hey, how's your marketing, right? Because I'm an expert in both. I'm an expert in the marketing aspect of the business, and I'm an expert on the acquisition aspect of the business. So now it's like I get such a great feeling and joy that I can go to any city in this country right now and be welcomed with open arms because I have somebody that I helped build a 7-figure company. And it's bigger than that, by the way. I didn't just help them make a bunch of money. I helped them live like the best life that they can live.
Freedom.
And
we talk about it.
Real freedom.
Yeah.
And it hits different because now their families, now the financial trajectory of their families is starting to change now. I just hung out with somebody in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta I did an event with a guy named DJ Envy. He has a huge hip hop show called The Breakfast Club.
Okay, yeah.
I know. I'm the guy.
Hold on. Why are you looking at Darren when we talk about hip hop?
Because they know
you don't think that we don't know what Breakfast Club is?
Guys, I've never watched the show. I've never watched a Breakfast Club show to this day. And here I am touring. I'm touring with DJ.
Our producer's shocked right now. You've never seen the show back there.
Yeah,
trust me. But when you walked in and you saw the brothers, and you were like,
there was 1,000 people in the Congress Center that I spoke to about this single family residential wholesaling and investing. And again, I hung out with one of my mentees out there, a guy named Keith Everett out of Alabama. Same thing. This guy sold his mattress to become I mentored him in 2018. He was the first guy to ever pay me, tens of thousands of dollars to mentor him. He has a company called AlabamaCashOffer.com, and they make well over 7 figures in real estate in Birmingham, Huntsville, and now Atlanta virtually. Wow. And I hung out with him for 6 days, right? And then I get to see his son, Kingston, and they're just like, they love me.
Right.
Like real love. They're family. Because I helped this man go from you know what I mean? It's different.
And that's the joy.
When you're
That's
impacting
the joy.
lives.
That's
man.
right.
Impacting lives.
Two questions come to mind. The first one, as you're sitting here talking, and I'm going to leave it open-ended, what are your thoughts on quote-unquote self-made men or self-made women?
Self-made men?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody's really self-made, right? I think that, right? I don't think anybody, there's so many people. You mentioned a couple people earlier, right? I'm sure,
I've never done one thing by myself, man.
There you go.
I've never gotten there. I mean, I just, everything I've ever done, any type of success, and I've said it so many times, there's been someone that's been next to me. It's almost like this podcast. We started from nothing, right? Yeah. I'm not doing this by myself. I got two guys that are carrying me through the process. And it's been that way my entire life.
It's beautiful.
Someone's always slipped me something like, hey, man, here's some advice.
Yeah.
Avoid these potholes.
And we owe so much to so many people, in so many different ways, right?
Yeah.
I've had my mother, right? I've had Joe as a father figure, I didn't have a father. So you have to remember, I started dating his daughter when I was 17 years old, and he's a great father, and he's a great grandfather now to two of my kids, right? So that, I've never done anything by myself. A lot of people want to think out there like, oh, you're self-made. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for my mother, So nobody does anything by themselves.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Because hearing your story, it's like you could easily try to take all the credit.
That's ego talk.
Yes.
That's ego. That's pride and ego talk, man.
Yes.
I'm over that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk through your real estate journey really quickly, right? How did you do your you read a book, you fell in love with it, you were obsessed with it, but like getting this started in that very first transaction.
His daughter started handwriting bandit signs.
Oh, Joe's daughter.
Joe's daughter started I told her, and I remember Joe having this conversation with me. I remember when I was going to quit my job of over a decade. And I remember Joe's like, are you sure you want to do that? You have Vanessa, you have the baby, and you know what? It's when family loves you, they're only trying to give you advice based off their experience.
Sure.
Right. And that's why I remember my father-in-law saying, hey, are you sure you want to quit your job? You have health insurance, 401k IRA, steady income, whatever. Right. And I knew that I wanted more.
I was just say there's more.
I wanted more. I wanted more. And once you want more, there's no settling.
So do you think? I guess one of the questions I have for you is because that's how your father-in-law, my whole family was raised that way. Like you get it, same thing. Yep. You go to school, you graduate from high school, you get a job, and you go. It's like the process, right? Yep. So did it just burn within you early on? Because I know when you were like 5 years old, you were doing something with like
hustling early.
You were hustling early.
I was selling bread, door-to-door bread.
Exactly.
In my neighborhood. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was.
So it's always the entrepreneurial spirit has always burned within you, right?
I think if you ever go to Mexico, you'll see a lot of people. They're selling something. They're selling tamales. They're selling clothes.
Roses.
You go to even a resort. You go to the beach, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you want to buy these sunglasses? You want a massage on the beach, right? Like there's an entrepreneur spirit down there, that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
If you think about it, a lot of immigrants come here to get rich, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's just, that's the history of this country, right? But yes, there's always been a fire in me. And when I started my real estate journey, I had no money. I was just like your average kind of middle-class American, paycheck to paycheck.
Spent what you made.
Yep. Paycheck to paycheck,
Just
man.
a rat race.
It was just enough for the mortgage,
Yeah.
the cars, the insurance, right? Like, the food. Our idea of a vacation back then was like driving to San Diego. I remember that. Yeah. Now we go wherever we want.
Yeah.
I've even taken my wife on private jets.
I mean, San Diego's a cool city and all, but
yeah.
San Diego's a cool city and all, but I mean,
you know what?
I
want to say this because I don't want to just think that there's a lot of people that work that way, and that's okay.
That's okay. If you're happy,
sure. that's okay.
I just wasn't happy.
You weren't happy.
I wanted more.
And there are so many people that are taking jobs right now that are exactly like you, but they're just figuring, I'm just going to settle.
Yeah,
I'm not going to take that next step. And this conversation is who we are talking to right now. We're talking to those who are working a 9 to 5 and they're bogged down. Yep. They're just making whatever it is to live that still have that spirit. I want to talk to mental mindset.
Okay.
And your mental mindset. And I got a couple questions. You had this mindset, you had this conversation about cultivating good thoughts. Elaborate on that topic, cultivating good thoughts.
That's a never-ending war, right? Like the thoughts, right? The scarcity, the fear, the doubt, everybody goes, like, there's no superhuman out there.
Right.
Like, you know, like no one's Superman, you know, or Superwoman. I'm sure that my mother at some point was scared shitless, you know, doing what she had to do, right? I know that I was scared. Like when I quit my job, I remember the first 3 to 4 months, man, I was so scared. Like I was living in constant anxiety. Like my, you know, that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Right? Because I was so used to clocking in, clocking out, getting paid. Right. So I want everybody out there to understand that that's normal and that's part of the process. You're gonna have to go through that, and all you're doing is you're just building more capacity and you're building a higher tolerance for risk.
Right.
You know, that's all you're doing. You know, so I want to answer that, but let me answer this. 2,400 bandit signs is what it took me to land my first real estate deal in Maryville, West Phoenix, right? I was putting out literally every single Friday night at 11 p.m. I'm my handwritten bandit signs. That is you remember that, Joe, right? I couldn't even. I got to the point because I wanted, you know, I'm all about precision and I'm all about being efficient. So I'm like, you know what? How can I make this faster and more efficient? Okay, I'm gonna pay somebody $50 to drive me around so I can get off and go put these bandit signs on every corner, right? And nobody would even want to go, like nobody even want to drive me around. Like that's how you know, like people just ain't in that type of mindset.
Right.
Because it's 11 o'clock on a Friday
It's 11
night.
p.m. They'd rather be out partying, drinking, having a good time, you know, watching a movie. I get it. I get it, but that wasn't my goal, right? I couldn't pay nobody, so here I am in Vanessa's, which is my wife, and my wife's 2006 Nissan Rogue, right? I'm putting out bandit signs every weekend, man. It took me 6 months, 2,400 bandit signs. I finally get somebody to call me. And you know what's crazy? You want to talk about the power of faith? Every bandit sign that I put out, I really thought that was going to be the one. Yeah. Every single, I'm putting those good vibes, that good energy into every bandit. I'm like, this is the one.
You're right.
You have to,
Yes.
right? You got to be relentless. Like there's an old saying out there that, you know, successful entrepreneurship is literally going from failure to failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. That's how I felt during that time. I was just bandit sign, handwritten letters, you know, like literally these purple envelopes that I wasn't smart enough to grab those things that you can give away, right? I'm like, literally, I'm sending out hundreds of letters. So finally, a bandit sign hits. This lady was on her way to Dallas, right? She has a rental property in Maryville, West Phoenix. She's a Hispanic lady. She speaks Spanish. She hits me up. Her name is Sylvia. I'm talking to her, and I didn't have an LLC. I didn't know what a maximum allowed offer was. I didn't know what an ARV, which is after repair value, was. I didn't know how to.
Did you have a real estate license at that point?
I don't have a real estate license to this day. But I have several realtors that work for me in my office now, right? But I have a brokerage, for God's sakes, and I'm not even licensed. I have a brokerage because one of my good friends, Omar Robles, who is a broker, said, "Hey, man, you want to start a brokerage with me, right? I have a broker. I have a brokerage license. Okay, cool. So then now we have a brokerage, right? So it's funny the way that it all kind of just unwinds at some point.
But that's one of the things I want to draw attention to is like everybody's, wow, I don't want to go take the test, or I don't want to study, or I don't have this. Don't wait for that. Just start. Just go.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Most investors don't have a real estate license.
Yeah.
There's actually a little more risk sometimes because you actually have to disclose when you're picking up a property. Because the way that I pick up properties, you're talking 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar max, right? So I'm picking up these off-market discounted properties. So if you have a real estate license, you're kind of known as a professional, an expert now. So if you ever get sued, that's why it's so important on the contract, if you do have a license, to put on a disclosure, I am a licensed, state of Texas real estate agent, right? Just in case you ever get sued. I haven't got sued, thank God, but I don't have a license, and I'm never going to get one now. So, but anyway, man, I landed that deal. I didn't know what I was doing. I was failing forward. I didn't have an LLC. I did it under my name. And I didn't know the numbers. I didn't know anything, but I knew how to talk to people, and I knew what I wanted, and I got her to sign my contract, and it was, to this day, the smallest assignment fee I've ever made. It was $5,000. And I've made assignment fees of, $250,000,
Right.
several hundred.
Describe for those that don't know what an assignment fee.
Okay. Well, if you're like me and you don't have money, credit, anything, right? There's a concept, a real estate strategy called wholesaling, where if you just become really good at finding off-market discounted properties, right, through motivated sellers or distressed sellers, and you're able to speak to them and they're able to trust you and like you, that you're going to provide a solution to whatever it is that they're going through, you get that person under contract, and then now you have the rights to this property. You can assign that contract to somebody who actually has the money to take this property down,
right.
and you make a fee, like a finder's fee.
Right.
And those finder's fee are $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50,000, right? Like I said, I have made a finder's fee of $250,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can make, and that was that's funny. That was 27 properties that I wholesaled back in 2016. Yeah, if you go back to my Instagram, November 1st of 2016, 27, like, man, it was a gift from God. This company called SVN, they're a huge company.
Yeah.
They hit me up out of all the people in the world, right? They hit me up and they're like, hey man, one of our investors wants to deploy and get rid of 27 properties from his portfolio. What can you do? And I'm a risk taker, right? Yeah. The biggest risk I did take with that, I will be honest, is I put $100,000 of my money down as non-refundable earnest. I have never flipped or wholesaled 27 properties in one shot. This was a huge risk for me.
Right.
But like I said,
Bet on yourself.
Because of my upbringing.
You bet on self. Yeah.
Because of my upbringing, I have a very high tolerance for risk. Very high tolerance for risk. Yeah. So I flipped those, made $250,000, and then my company just took off.
Gosh, that's
something you said a minute ago that I want to draw attention to. You said you went out every single night, Friday night, for 6 months.
Yep.
And how many? 2,500 signs?
2,400.
2,400 signs.
I haven't done a bandit sign since.
Needed the one.
I spent I don't remember the last time that I didn't spend $1 million in just marketing. That doesn't include overhead and payroll expenses, just marketing, right? Like 400,000 telemarketing, 300,000 pay per click. You see, 150,000 direct mail, right? I'm everywhere, right? I have multiple streams, but back then, that was like, I'm like, man, if I ever get enough money to not have to do this, I'm not going to do these bandit signs.
But what I want to highlight, and Tyler, you actually made my point for me because I totally disagree. It wasn't the one sign. Yeah. That one sign got the credit. Yeah. That's what she saw. But it was the multiple signs that you laid down day after day after day that didn't get any of the credit. Yeah. And I think that's so important because I am the world's most impatient person. And I think it's got to happen now.
Really? Didn't know that.
Really, didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so it's that groundwork that you're laying. It's those years and months and whatever. And so I love that point to that story. And I want to highlight that yes, it was that one sign that got the attention, but it was the 2,399 that you laid before that that mattered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I put every single sign out there with a lot of faith. A lot of faith. Like, I never lost faith, man. I never lost momentum. I never lost enthusiasm. And I want people out there to really know that if you really want something, right, if you have a goal,
right,
work your ass off. Don't lose faith, no matter what people say, no matter whatever circumstances you face, no matter what objections come, overcome that and do not give up.
Tell me what work your ass off means to you.
Eyes open to eyes closed. To this day, I'm obsessed with what I'm obsessed, man. This is the most competitive sport in the world. Right. Yeah. I'm for me, man. It's like I open my eyes and
like the way you said that. It's a sport.
This is the most competitive sport in the world, and we were discussing that earlier about athletes.
Yeah. Let's bring that up.
Athletes, right? Yeah. I know this for a fact, right? I know this for a fact. I was like, there's a lot of great athletes out there, right? A lot of great athletes. And to be a professional ball player, you got to be a great athlete. Yeah. And guess what? You got to have all those characteristics that I just discussed in my journey as an entrepreneur. It's the same thing.
Right.
Athletes are entrepreneurs. They don't even know it.
Right.
What's your business? Your body. That's your business. Your body, your mind and your body, that was your business. Right? And in my case, it was like, my mind and my hustle was my business, right? People never really understand that. So the great athlete, or to get to the NFL or to the NBA or MLB, you got to actually, like, you got to be one of those, like, 1%. Like, you know how many people don't make it, right?
Yeah, right.
To even make it is like it's like hitting the lottery.
Half the time it's just fooling them.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just serious. Seriously, like mentally, it's like you just fooling them.
Yeah.
I'm fooling you to get to where, because there's a lot of guys that can compete at the same level, but I'm showing my ass up. Like, being available is like 99% of the fight, man.
Discipline.
I'm serious. Just showing up.
Having that discipline.
Having the discipline,
and staying out of trouble.
Yes.
And then you got all those, you got all those distractions that, are college, and you're a star athlete in high school, women and drinking, and right. And it's like, I have a lot of professional, like, boxer friends, and I've seen some of them, like, just get to the big scale champions. Then I've seen some of them, like, go back to the neighborhood and work at, their dad's shop. You see, right?
Yeah.
That
and I think, something you mentioned earlier, like, you love people, you can communicate with people, and you don't do things by yourself. Professional athletes are the same, because think about the people that validated you as a football player, that spoke on your behalf, that the Dallas Cowboys asked before they drafted you.
Yeah.
And it's about, and to me, even from the professional athlete journey, entrepreneurial journey, you have people that constantly are feeding you leads for mentors, for courses, for houses, because they trust you, that you have earned that trust and earned that right to get a referral. We would get referrals too. Like, my whole story is about referrals. Like, going to Canada, playing in the Arena League, playing in the United Football League, and it was somebody referred me to the next person. And so, to your point, same deal. It's all a referral. It's all about referrals. It's all about how you treat people along the way.
Right. Man, you're right on it.
Creating a brand, right? You have a brand, right? You guys now are getting a brand, right? And this will help you. This will actually help you get out there, and people will, you'll see, like, business will come from this at some point, if it hasn't already. Creating a brand is very important. And the one thing that I can tell you guys from a book that I read is called The Brand Gap, right? A brand isn't what you think it is, it's what they think it is, right? So that's exactly, it's what people think. It's what people think you are.
Right.
Like, oh, Darren, he's a great guy, and he's doing real estate now. Go check him out, you see? Then boom, you just, make a few $100,000 or something, right?
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things you said, though, before the show is, I think entrepreneurship is harder than being a professional athlete. And at first, my ego's like, whoa, hold up, right? But here's the reality. And transitioning over to the business sector after professional football, right? You learn. Here's the deal: is yes, physically demand, like, you've got to be dedicated. You've got to, elevate yourself beyond the competition for a sustained amount of time. But here's the deal: is you show up and they tell you what to do.
That's right.
The hard part with the entrepreneurship, nobody tells you to do 2,400 flyers. Nobody tells you to make that many cold calls. Nobody tells you how to do this. Nobody walks you through a transaction. You've got to figure it out.
Right.
So yes, it's just as hard of work, if not harder, but it's on your own and figure it out. Yes.
A lot of now
until you find
them. See, when you can afford coaches, right? But you don't, for the most part, when you're a starting, aspiring entrepreneur, you don't have coaches.
Yeah.
So let's transition to a little bit more of the family, personal side. So your wife trusted you to make this transition from corporate to being an entrepreneur.
She never nagged.
She never nagged me. Now, I wasn't home for the first 3 to 4 years of, like, my daughter's. I was there for the big stuff, the birthdays, and I slept in my home. But she never nagged me. She's always supported me, and that's very important, man. That's very important.
So how much of that transition was for yourself? How much was for your family? And then, as you now are talking about some of the families that you've affected, like the difference you've seen in their family, but how much does your family motivate you now? I mean, you've talked about your faith, but I mean, family, how much of what you do now is for something more than yourself?
I remember when I was working in corporate America, my daughter was already born, and we were out shopping for a car, and I remember I'm like, I didn't even tell my wife this, but I remember I'm like, man, when my daughter turns 16 and she asks me for a car, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? Where am I going to be? And that's another thing that just sparked, like, I got to do more. I got to, in order to be able to achieve more, you actually have to become more. So I got to become more than what I am right now. You see?
Right.
So that's when I really started digging in. Like, one of my favorite, a book that actually changed my life, it's called Secret to the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That changed my world. Like, that changed my That completely did a mental shift for me. And yes, a lot of things that I do now are not just for me, it's for my family. Because I don't there's always that one person. You might be that one person, the sacrificial lamb, right? The guy's like, you know what? I'm gonna put my life on the line because nobody before me has done it.
Man,
right,
dude, brother, you are speaking right now. Amen. Keep speaking.
It's not Sunday.
Yeah, you're a preacher right now. Yeah. Go. Yes,
but I'm gonna be that person that changes everything. Right, for generations to come. And that's real legacy. That's more important than anything. That's more important than money, right? It's the way that I'm living my life now, the things that I'm doing for my family. Now my daughters and God willing, my future kids have a standard now. You see, right?
Yeah.
My mom never made more than $8.25 an hour. Like that, my mom didn't want that to be my standard, and she never, that's another thing. I just have some good women in my life too. Between my mother and my wife, they never told me you can't do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And that helped me out a lot.
We've had this conversation. We've had, who has a better chance of success? Somebody that came from nothing that wants more, or someone that maybe came up in money? And so I want to get your opinion on this.
Yes.
Because
that was my next question.
That's tough.
Because here's why is your mom wanted more. Right? And you saw that if you want more, what as small of more is,
You have to
right?
do more. Yeah,
you have to do more if
have
you
to
want
become
more, right?
yeah.
But now your daughters and future children now see my dad wanted more too. So I want more. I want to do more. I want to become all that God designed me to be and reach that potential. So what's your opinion? Like the kids that, in Dallas, it's the Highland Park kids, right? The kids that grew up with old money
Phoenix
and this.
and Scottsdale.
But we've had these
Valley,
conversations
yep.
because there is an advantage to that, right? There is a confidence that that is achievable and that's what I need to go get. And then sometimes, if you're in Marysville or you're in West Fresno or you're wherever these areas may be, right? That it's like, no, this is all I deserve.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think? Who do you think has a better shot at success?
I think there's two different X factors. For a person like myself, who comes from the slums, extreme poverty, adversity is our X factor. For kids like my daughter, my daughter has her own personal development coach. I didn't tell you that. I have mine, and then my wife has a personal development coach 2 sessions a week, and my third grader has a personal development coach twice a week. So see, you see what I'm doing for my family is completely different than what other people see. Those type of folks that have, they're really wealthy, they don't really pour into their children.
Right.
Me, I'm doing everything possible to pour into my next generation. Yes. Right. I'm doing everything. I'm hiring the coaches. Right. So the X factor that they're going to have that I didn't have was programming. Right. My daughter's already on a whole different level. My third grader, she's like a business person already. Like she's like buying stuff and flipping it at school. She's already
slanging. She already slanging.
I bring her bracelets from when I go to Sedona. I do a lot of sound healing and meditation up in Sedona. I go up to Sedona and my daughter makes bracelets and sells them to the family. She's already you guys have to understand genetically, right? Right. Our children, they get that from us.
That's right.
Whether you're an athlete or you're a business person, you are your daddy's son. You are your mother's child. So that's one thing that I've already seen in my children, and I'm doing everything possible. I'm putting all the resources and all the support so they can have an edge.
Two things. Number one, you said you wanted sons. I'm up for adoption if you want. No, but seriously, how do you harden up your children?
Discipline, definitely. Discipline, expectations. Like I said, communication's a key thing between my wife, myself, and my third grader, right? Communication and again, putting the right resources and support around your children, man, it's like investing into, I invest well over 6 figures into personal development for myself and my family. Best investment I've ever made.
I see that LeBron James always says that he spends $1 million a year on himself, on his body.
My goal this year is to spend $250,000 on personal development. And I know that last year I got to 140. Last year I got to 140K. I started my personal development coaching, like hiring coaches, March of 2019. So I don't plan on ever stopping.
See, I love that, right? Because you're a development coach for, entrepreneurs, real estate, single family developers, but like you're practicing what you preach, right? You're on the other side and saying, look, I'm still investing in myself too. Because I'll never be.
You'll never arrive.
That's right.
Never arrive.
Always improving.
So I got a question for you. You made mention, and you had this quote of saying, I think it's, you are a slave to whatever you can't say no to. Yeah. Now there's that spoke to me in a way because growing up in the inner city, man,
you're watching my post.
Dude, I am, man.
He's doing something. This is the first time he's ever done homework on a guest. So feel honored.
What do I got?
Yeah, absolutely.
Facts.
That is, but that speaks directly, and I know it speaks to everyone, man. But the way I grew up, you see that part of it because a lot of us, brown, black, whatever you want to call it, we are slaves to whatever it is we can't say no to. Drugs, women, the club, whatever it is. How do you talk to me through that process?
But just like anything else, it's like it either serves you or you serve it.
Right.
It's that simple, right? I'll give you an example. I just canceled yesterday, and it broke my heart because they're good people. I was supposed to speak on a stage in Houston, and they were going to pay me anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 to speak on that stage. Depending on the amount of seats that they sell, they're like, hey, we're guaranteeing a red line of 30, but you'll be anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000 to speak on the stage. And man, they were like, you only just have to come in, do your thing, 1 hour, and then you can leave because I got to go to Orlando that weekend to speak with DJ Envy on that Sunday in Orlando, right? Brother, it broke my heart to say no. See, I said no, right? Because I've been on the road a lot these past couple of days, and I haven't had my home time and my family time and my time to reset and recharge and ground myself. Right. And that's one thing that I want to, I don't know what level of entrepreneurship you guys are at right now, but you guys will run into where you feel a little overwhelmed and you start to yellow light. It's green light, yellow, red. You start to yellow light, you're like, oh man, this is overwhelming. I'm starting to have some, anxiety. I'm starting to not feel very well, right? Right? Everybody goes through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to know how to reset and recharge, right? They have this old saying, and for athletes specifically, right? Here, I'll point at him. For athletes, you're that. You're the athlete.
He's probably the best athlete.
Actually, literally, true story, is probably the best athlete out of the three.
Really?
Yeah. True story.
Not a true story. Go ahead.
Okay. They say, for those athletes that go super hard, you gotta recover just as hard or harder, right?
Yeah. Right.
Same thing with entrepreneurship. We use this a lot. We use this a lot. We use this a lot, So you got to know when to say no to things, man. For me, like I said, and my man Patrick here asked me on the way here, he goes, hey, man, do you think that you'll get to the B? What's the B?
Yeah.
Billionaire. You think you'll get to the B status? And my answer to him was, you know what? If it doesn't jeopardize my health or my family, I'm okay with it. You see, I will not put my health or my family ahead of anything.
You set your values.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's very important. Right. So you gotta know when to say no.
Right. Yeah.
And there's an old saying, yes will get you out of Egypt, no will get you to the promised land. That's one of my mentors taught me that.
Yeah. And I think of the lack of progress you can make until you learn how to say no. Because I know in our business, right, and especially when you started out, I transitioned into commercial real estate at 32 years old. Yeah. So I'm competing with 22-year-olds just out of college, right? Those are the guys. So they're there at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and they're till 8. I have a family. I have 4 kids at the time. And it's like, I just need deals. I just need to do stuff. So I'm going to say yes to this. I'm going to say yes to this. I'm going to say, come on. Yeah. And guess what? I don't make any progress because I spend all my time on things that don't actually serve my family, that actually just pull me away from my family. Yeah. And that's one of the things over the last year I've actually learned is okay, I've got to say no. And why that Instagram post that you posted hit me so hard is because, and like Darren's got such a good heart that he wants to help people and say yes to people because he wants to serve them. Yep. But I'm the same. And it's like, I can't say yes to everything because guess what? I'm sacrificing my health. I am sacrificing my family.
Time and energy that you put towards someone or something else is time and energy that you're taking away from your family, your businesses, and yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did was I hired a person to say no for me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's a book.
That's what I did.
Yeah. It's genius.
I literally hired, I got my chief financial officer. Her name is Brittany. And she, whenever someone wants to book me for anything, podcast, speaking event, whatever, right?
Send it to her.
Brittany at allinnation.com. And then she then asks questions.
Right.
And she knows my core values and my principles, right?
Man.
So then she either says yes or no if it's worth it. It's hard to get. I'll tell you. I've been saying this for a while now. It's hard to get me out of Arizona, right? It's hard to get me out of Arizona. I have a few trips coming up. I have Key West. I'm speaking at, so these are the top real estate coaches in the country, and I'm one of the speakers, right? It's the top real estate coaches in the country. It's called HERO, the HERO program. These are the guys that, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Fortune Builders, like their era, right? They see me as like the new wave of coaches because my wave is different than their wave. The coaches that I've mentored and built, right? We're more about service than money. Right. Even though we get paid very well to coach, right? Anywhere from 30, 40, 50K, whatever for like 3 months. Right. It's more like fulfillment and it's service. Like we're really helping people.
Right.
That era there was all about numbers, right? They were all about numbers back then, you know? So, the guy that's running that event, he came up with those people, with those guys in that era. So I'm speaking there, Key West, April 7th and 8th. Right. And I got Orlando with DJ Envy. Then I got New Jersey with DJ Envy. Then I got my own Freedom event with 1,000 people in Arizona.
On
right?
May 7th, right? On that one?
May 7th and 8th. So I'll send you guys a VIP invite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on,
come on.
Yeah, I love it. Shit, it's my event.
Yeah, that's right.
You know somebody, right?
Yeah, it's my event.
So we have to go through the CFO. Do we have to do all that?
You hit him up and she said you asked.
She said, not aligned with my values. No.
No, I got you guys.
All right. So let's get on some really tough topics right now, especially where we are socially in this country right now. What is your thought on? Look, you were an immigrant. You migrated on over. What is your thoughts on the immigration issue now at the border?
I didn't tell you this, but Instagram kind of shadow banned me for a few months because I was politically kind of trolling. Right, I was politically trolling because it's hard for me to say this, and it's like I stay out of politics now,
right?
Because it's just like a lose-lose situation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a lose-lose situation.
More so than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Way more.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
And Instagram for 2 months, my reach, they took it away. It's just starting to come back.
Wow.
Like I'm just starting to, like, now when I make a post, I'm reaching on a bad day, on a bad post, 40, 50,000 accounts, and on a good day, anywhere from 100 to 120,000 accounts. Right. I was reaching when they banned me. It's called shadow banned. When they shadow banned me for 2 months, November, December, I was reaching like 2,000 to 3,000 accounts because if you get involved politically on social media, you might get censored.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and we've seen that.
If you have
that happened to me.
If you have the view that they disagree with, by the way.
Yes, that happened. That happened to me. And I have like 897,000 people on Instagram that follow me, right? And I feel that that's why they did it,
right.
Because at that time, they needed things to play out a certain way, and I wasn't on that boat, right?
Right.
But when it comes to immigration, I feel like the people that are already here, at least the people that are they don't have any felonies,
right?
Right. Because for me to become an American citizen, for me to even become a resident of this country, I had to have a clean slate, like no DUIs. No criminal background, right? I agree with that. I believe that the people that are already here and they're already working, I'm not saying make them American citizens,
right?
But maybe give them a path, a lengthy process like the one that I went through,
right?
Like prove yourself, right? You're already here, you're legal, you're already working, right? You're probably already, God willing, already paying taxes. Just give them a road to become not citizens. I think that's a whole different story, but at least become legalized.
That's right.
To contribute to this country, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one thing. You know, I grew up in a community that was heavily Hispanic in Fresno, in the Central Valley, and one thing I never understood is it's just a backwards way of thinking. In that, why would you not give them a path to, like, there are individuals, there are families that need to be here because they're escaping something that is so much worse,
Right.
and they want to contribute here.
Absolutely.
They want to be a part of this, and I agree, right? Like, and here's. Again, not saying one thing or the other, but like one of the things that Trump said that was just idiotic to me is like, oh, rapists, murderers, they're all coming through. Okay, but like what percentage, right? Like, so you're generalizing an entire culture that's coming through that wants to come contribute, be a part of this country, and achieve the dream that we have created for the last 200 plus years.
And we'll outwork our asses.
And,
from,
100%. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And guess what guess as a country that's backwards to me is guess what you're missing out on? The opportunity to increase your taxable revenue.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, so why would you not make them part of it? And this is not the same. And so I'm not putting these in the same page, but it's like the marijuana issue. Right? Like, and I'm not big on like going and smoking weed and all this stuff, but guess what? It's taxable.
Yeah.
Right.
The amount, and guess what? And now you're decriminalizing it.
Yep.
So now you're alleviating the correctional system, and you are, which is a huge cost, especially in California, right? And then you're bringing in taxable products.
Right.
And I mean, to me, it's just like, it doesn't make sense if you're making it so hard and so expensive. One of my best friends in the world, he married, and who's one of our great friends, a girl that lived in the United States illegally until she was 24 when they got married, and it was still a 6-year process.
It's tough.
Yeah.
With the Trump situation, maybe you never know because the media takes things out of context, right? With the jail and prison situation, I want you to know that most jails or prisons are privately owned.
Yeah,
he knows
it is a business.
and it is a business.
It's a
Everything
business.
in this country is a business.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to understand is that everything in this country is a business, and the country with the greater economy is the country that's going to be on top.
That's right.
Right. So you got China, you got the U.S., you got Russia, right? And that's what people don't understand. Like, every country is a business. Every country. And people need to understand that. See, 99% of people or society nowadays, they don't even think that. They don't think that.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, why do we have this crazy big old army? Do we really need that army? Unfortunately, if you have the bigger army, then you don't get bullied. Right?
Right.
So it's like, pick your
Do you want to
poison.
go to war or do you not want to go to war?
It's like pick your poison. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot. That's why obviously, my opinion, and I don't ever discuss or talk on anything that I haven't done my research on. Right. But with that being said, that could have been taken out of context.
Yeah.
Right. I would have to go back specifically when he said it and why he said it.
Yeah.
And towards who he said it.
Right.
And the generalization that I'm talking about, and again, I'm not on one side or the other here, and that's not what I'm saying. I just think that it has been taken out of context in so many ways, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what the other side of the aisle is saying. Oh, he's
we get to see
criminalizing
whatever
everyone.
they want us to see.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I agree with you. The next question on this, right? Being an immigrant, having lived the way that you live, and culture today, the self-righteous,
it's getting bad.
everybody owes me, right?
victim
Entitlement.
Yeah, the entitlement.
entitlement.
And not only the
Victimization.
entitlement, but
Yeah.
the victim mentality of it's always someone else's fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is something let's speak on that.
No
because
accountability.
Yeah.
None. Let's speak on that. What is your thought on, what would you tell a young kid that says, look, it's nothing's being handed to me. It's their fault. The reason I can't move up is because of such and such. What are you telling that kid?
99% of the things that happen for you or to you are your fault. Like 99% of it. I believe that the sooner that you're able to take accountability and understand that it starts and it ends with you, right? Everything around you, your future, your present, your relationships, everything, right? The way you live your life. I think you'll be you'll get ahead. You'll have an edge, and you'll get to some levels where other people can't because they cannot get past that victimization or that victim mindset. So that's one thing that I want to tell people out there. I want to empower and encourage people to know, like, hey, you know what? It's on me.
That's right.
It's not nobody else's fault.
Yeah.
So
if you want to read a good book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Yeah,
talks just
is
about
that. The Navy
SEALs.
I got that on my desk. I got to read it.
It's a
it's
great
this
one.
thick.
It is thick,
but it's an easy read.
It's easy
It's
read.
really
Yeah.
easy.
Us three dummies
doing
can
the
read it.
audio,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay.
But the next thing on that, right, is you came from a place of extreme poverty in another country where safety was not guaranteed. And now you're watching what's going on culturally, and you see all of these, and typically the younger generation that has not had to go through anything.
It's almost unrecognizable.
It really
the country that I came to, the country that was the land of milk and honey, right? The powerhouse, right? The courage, the America, the courageous, right? The valiant. I feel like we're straying away from that. And it's tough for me to say that and see that because I have daughters of my own. You know what I mean? I'm like, where is this country going to be when they're adults? I got an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. Like, where are we headed to? What's going to be left of it?
Right.
Yeah. It's not the country that I came to in 1997. It's really not. And it's sad to say that. And unless we turn it around, I don't know where we'll be.
But I listen to what you're saying, and you're right, man. Because I go across pre-COVID. I do a lot of speaking as well, and you would not believe how many people don't want to compete, even on the business side of things. Yeah, they've given up. It's like the fight and the dog that's always been there in this country. Yeah, we're losing that. And it's the toughness because we become, I'll say it with the FT on it, we become really soft. We are. And it's not just businesses, it's parents like ourselves who are soft on our kids now. It's the school system that has to accept everything across the board. They don't take a stance. No one takes a stance anymore. And I think that's the one thing one of the things I listened to you today. And I'm listening to how your mom had to overcome things. She fell on the grenade,
She didn't have time to be soft.
She didn't. Yeah. She fell on the grenade. She didn't have time to be soft.
She's hard as nails,
It's life, man. We only have a short window of time right now.
Yeah.
And why can't we live it to the fullest and be hard on each other and be hard on our kids? Because I always say in my house, and I'm preaching now, but I always say in my house, look, I'd rather be the one that's tough on you and hard on you instead of the streets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the streets do not give a shit. No. I love you, and I'm going to be hard on you, but when you get into the streets and you get into the real world, man, there is no mercy
There's no love.
There's no love at all. So it's our duty to do so.
So Carlos, I want to, along those lines, right? Soft, right? Not willing to put in the work. Here's the optimistic point of view is what an opportunity for those that are willing to do it. And I'm sure the people that you coach and the people that you go through these programs with, you're saying these things because here's the thing is that we're not willing as a culture, and I'm speaking generalization, to do the tough things, to put in the work because everything is too easy. Everything is just like my generation, especially, right? It's when it started, just things got good. Things got really easy and didn't have to work and as hard to be successful, and I'm entitled to that because I did this and you owe me that. No, you don't. Nobody owes you shit. And you talked about like taking accountability for yourself. Look, if you want to be successful, there is a hell of an opportunity right now.
Absolutely.
Talk through that, right?
More because competition is probably the weakest it's been in a very long time. So a lot of the guys that I mentor and coach now, they get results in 30 to 60 days, as opposed to even when I was coming up or several years ago, right? It took me 6 months to land something. Now it's like it's like fast forwarding, So that's the one opportunity that for the very few, right? I did a podcast 2 days ago called The Passionate Few, one of the biggest entrepreneur podcasts in the world. A guy named Omar Elatar, he interviews the big guys out there, some of billionaires and stuff like that. And for those people out there that are the passionate few, man, like it's like it's at your doorstep. Yeah. Like the world, it's there for the taking, you know? So if you just don't lose that grit, right? That grit, and you are tougher than nails, right. You're going to do well. You're going to do very well.
Yeah, that's the question I had for you is what keeps you going today? And I know you mentioned your family. I know, that's obviously a driver, but for you personally, when you look inside, when you look in the mirror, you've made all the money. Yeah. What keeps you going?
I'm a growth junkie. I'm a growth junkie, man. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. And I know that sounds very like touche, right?
Not from you, it doesn't.
Right? Or cliche. Yeah. But I'm a growth junkie, man. Like, I just want to make progress. Like, I'll give you an example. We already have 27 companies, right? And we're about to launch 4 other the SaaS companies, software as a service, right? We're about to launch 4 SaaS companies, and again, it's been 2 years, and we've already spent well over 7 figures on building these 4 software companies. One of them hits, it's like
that's right.
It's we're like, my plan is in the next, I would say, like 3 to 5 years, is to become a 9-figure conglomerate, and we're one company away from doing that. We already have several 7-figure companies. We need one company to just hit, right? And that's an accomplishment. At this point, it's not even about the money. I have there's an old saying. One of my guy that I look up to, he says, I have more money than I have more money than I need, but less than I want. See, right? So it's not even about the money at this point. I have more money than I need. I have more money than I need, and it's like, it's not even about the money at this point. Yeah. It's about like the accomplishment and the progress, right?
It's a way to measure it, right? Yeah. And I tell my wife this all the time. She goes, I don't care how much money we have. I just want you. I want you here. And I'm like, I get it. Like, and I'm not chasing money. I don't need to have $1 billion in my bank account.
Be nice,
but get what?
I do.
What would change?
Nothing. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. But what it is it's just a measuring stick.
You know what it is, man?
For measuring growth.
And how I've looked at it, it's the battle from within. Like, why am I here on this earth? Am I here to make a lot of money and then to go play freaking golf every day?
Oh, God.
What is? It's the battle from within. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of us have made a lot of good money, but what's tomorrow look like? And who am I? Like, it's always it's like you said earlier, it's the reset. Every day is a reset. And we have to start looking at it that way. It can't just, like, if you've made a lot of money, if you've had success, however you measure it, if you're just content on just being that, I mean, what the hell are you doing?
It has to be bigger than money, for sure.
It's got to be bigger,
right?
man.
And it's funny you bring up this golf situation, because when COVID hit, right, a lot of people, especially in the real estate industry, they took it off. They ran to the fences. Right. They, and what I did, I made 2 phone calls, right? I'm like, okay, so here's COVID, right? Everybody's scared, right? And when there's fear on the streets, right? So that's when Warren Buffett has this old saying, right? I'm trying to remember it, but when there's blood on the streets, that's when you buy more, right?
That's right. That's where the opportunity lives.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
I felt that, I'm a very intuitive person. And the first thing I did, I remember the day, it was March 16th, 2020. It was a Monday. It was March 16th. I hope it's a Monday. I think it was a Monday.
I think that's right.
It was a Monday because we released our very first podcast that day.
Okay.
Yeah. Continue.
All right. Yeah. I'm like, this is how I feel about what's going on, right, in the industry, real estate industry. I said, inventory is historically low in the single-family residential space. Demand is extremely high, right? And interest rates are historically low too. So then I called 2 of my private money guys, right? I do business with these 2 Mormon guys. They're amazing. I've been using their money the last 3 years, and they've never seen somebody buy at a discount the way that I buy. So they're like, here you go, right? They're like, yeah, we love what you're doing. You're giving me a ROI on my money. I'm giving them anywhere from 10 to 14% return on investment on their money, right? Private, Really?
And,
Darren, you got a check? You got a checkbook there?
Absolutely. 10 to 14% all day. So they love me, right? And then I called this guy, Travis. Hey, this is how I feel. You've been through 3 recessions. How do you feel? They're like, step on the gas. And I called the other guy, Dave. Hey, Dave, this is how I feel. What do you feel? Step on the gas. I stepped on the gas. everybody else was playing golf. See, just like you said.
Yeah.
And not only did I see real estate investors playing golf, I got to see a lot of my friends that are broke as shit, right? And then they hate on me because I'm working my ass off, right? They, people I grew up with.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's changed. Look at him. I'm like, what? Right? And dude, you're playing golf. I'm here working my ass off.
Right.
I'm taking risk. I'm putting my life on the line. You're over there playing golf, right? That happened. I remember pandemic, everybody started playing golf.
That's right.
I haven't swung a golf club and gotten, I'm not even good at it. I'm not good at it. That wasn't my sport. I was a basketball player.
Right.
And I played some football in high school too, defensive end. But man, I'm like, I'm not playing golf. I haven't went to a golf course like since the pandemic hit. I've been grinding, man. I've been working.
So I got another question. I know we got to wrap it up here real quick.
We're good.
So what do you say to those that came up with you, have seen you become highly successful?
Man, like these guys are some of my neighborhood, like childhood friends.
Yeah,
right?
and what do they say? You've changed. Some of them have said you've changed.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, what did Jay-Z say? He said, people say that I've changed, but I didn't work this hard to stay the same.
Right.
Right? Like, I haven't changed. Like, my priorities have changed, right? I haven't changed who I am here and here, but my priorities have changed. And yeah, I've grown, and you haven't grown with me.
Right.
Right? And that's another reason why I have personal development coaches coach my family, because I want them to continue to grow with me.
Right.
Because remember earlier when you say, well, what keeps you going? Growth, right? I'm a growth junkie. I really do believe, like, if you're not growing, you're dying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, you're dying. I really do feel that way. I feel like when you stop growing, you begin to die, man. And I'm just trying to grow every day, somehow, some way. Even being here, right? This is growth for me. This is growth. This is still growth for me. Every single move. So
That's awesome.
Love it.
I love it. All right, so future for you, more companies, kind of growing the portfolio of companies that you've got, personally, more kids. Is there anything else on the horizon that you're like, okay, hey, that's a goal that I want to set for myself?
man, that's tough because it's like financial.
Yeah, I mean, you got enough on your plate. I'm like,
No, how
I'm just
about
like, oh yeah,
what
there's
about a
27
book?
companies. Don't
What
worry
about
about
somewhere
those.
to write a book, tell your story.
I'm actually gonna write a few books. I'm working with a few publishing companies. I'm definitely gonna write a few books. And you know what I want to do too? I got a public relations lady named Maria. She's been reaching out to me. I want to inspire more of my own, like even my own community, like the Hispanic, the Mexican and Hispanic. I haven't done enough of that, and I'll take full accountability because I don't see people. I don't see people as black,
Right.
Brown, white.
Right.
I see people as people. I see people as souls. Souls don't have a gender. Souls don't have a color. Like I just love. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't judge you based off the color of your skin.
Right.
More like Martin Luther King. One of my I was in Atlanta. I visited his gravesite.
Wow.
I visited his Freedom Center. Martin Luther King was one of my childhood heroes, right? And he said, don't judge somebody based off the color of the skin, but by the basis of their character. Right?
That's right.
And that's how that's how I am now. So one of my goals right now, man, is just continue to grow.
Yeah.
Grow mentally, spiritually, family-wise, right? And business-wise, and then we'll see where it ends, Like I said, I want to continue to increase my capacity.
Yeah.
That's where it is. Like, you guys understand that?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Like-
I want you to tell everyone else when you say grow your capacity.
Well, so don't pray that you can't handle, don't pray that you can't handle more, pray that you can increase your capacity to be able to handle to take on more and handle more, right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, we neglect so many areas of our lives because we don't have the capacity.
Right.
We don't have the margin, right? If we go all in on business and entrepreneurship, what do we neglect? Right. Family, health, right? See, serving others.
Yep.
Right? We become selfish instead of selfless, right? And if you increase your capacity, you can, I'll call this, one of my mentors taught me this, I call this the wheel of life. You can increase every single aspect, every single area of your life to be a top performer to be a great husband, a great father, right? A great servant to people, a great businessman. You just got to increase your capacity. You got to like I said earlier in the show, I'm like, in order to be able to accomplish more and to do more, you got to become more, right?
That's
Because success will never exceed the person you are. So increase your capacity.
So right now, talk to that entrepreneur, whether that's a single mom that's fighting tooth and nail trying to provide for her kids, or a 23-year-old just graduated college, whoever it may be, that's going through a hard time right now, that it's just really hard. Give them some words of encouragement that maybe from your experience or things that you've seen that can speak to them and where they're at right now.
Personally, I say this time and time again, like, I'm living the American dream. I'm not from this country, right? I'm not from this country. I wasn't born in this country. I was brought here legally. My mom never gave up. I never gave up, and I don't want that person who's listening to give up, right? Just know that if you don't give up, success is inevitable. Right. If you don't give up, success is inevitable.
That's so good. Man.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's great, man.
There's a lot of gold in that.
It's inevitable.
So Ben's going to hit you with a question I think that applies to you as much as anybody that we've had on. But how can, if someone's out there interested in a real estate coach or working with you, or just trying to get into the single family residential
or just
real estate
learning,
game,
just
or just learning, how can
you.
they find you? How can they reach your resources? How can they use your companies? Kind of talk us through that.
I'm very easy to find on Instagram, Carlos Reyes. I'm probably the only Mexican you'll see with like a blue verification mark, right? Like, there's not too many. Like, Mexican is like from Mexico, right? There's not too many Mexicans out there, unless you guys know of another Mexican out there that has a blue check mark.
I'm sitting there thinking through my
Literally, like, right? Go through.
No, there's man. Come on.
Is there?
Yes.
I don't know. Name one.
Carlos Reyes that plays baseball. He's got to have.
He's not Mexican.
He's a Puerto Rican.
He's Southern. He's Latino.
See,
he's from
don't lump it all together.
Okay. Oh boy, the comedian. George Lopez.
He's not from Mexico.
George Lopez is from Mexico.
He's not.
Come on.
He's not from.
No, he's born in L.A.
Yeah.
Really? I thought
Like true Mexican born.
I'm born in Mexico.
All right, let me think here.
Anyway.
There you go. See?
Yeah, Carlos Reyes.
Carlos Reyes. One thing that I always say is I always get back to people. It may not be right away, but I will always get back to people because I never want to be that guy, It gets too big, like too big for people,
Yeah.
I am them, I am people. So I never, like, if you reach out to me, like, people reach out to me for random stuff, random stuff. And sometimes they'll be like, hey man, I want to get started. I don't have any money. Boom, bestreibook.com. It's a book that I wrote on wholesaling, right? And I used to sell it on Amazon for like $20. And after I sold like 30,000 copies in like the first 45 days, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start giving this away. Like, that money's not, Amazon took like $7, $8. I'm netting nothing, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start giving it away.
Yeah.
Bestreibook.com. It downloads straight into their phone. So
Best REI
book.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So Instagram, Carlos Reyes. Yeah.
All right.
That's
the best place to start, and they can find whatever avenue.
Whatever you need, man. Like, I'm always going to try to, and a lot of people don't even reach out to me about business. Like, they reach out to me about like mindset, spirituality, like, because I never want to be a one-trick pony, like business is just an extension of me.
That's right.
That's it. It's just an extension of me. It's a reflection of me. I believe that everybody here is so much more than just, football.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
Don't you
Absolutely.
hate that? Oh, Darren Woodson, the football player, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So
dude,
true.
I'm so much more than a football
Yeah.
player,
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm a husband,
doubt.
I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur. So I want people to definitely reach out for anything.
Love that.
Great.
All right. Last question, and we ask every guest this. We just went through your journey and just learned a lot of gold lessons. If you could go back to any point in your life and tell yourself one thing, doesn't necessarily mean you change anything, but if you just go tell yourself one thing, where do you go and what do you tell yourself?
Start sooner. Don't get comfortable. Overcome that fear sooner. Fear is a
Bitch. Yes, it is. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Fear is tough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure even when you guys were making a transition from athletes to entrepreneur, you're like, man, I'm scared shitless. I don't know this realm, right? start sooner, man. Like, start sooner. Man, you once your brain catches this, like, proof of concept, right? You can do it once, like, after you guys did your first deal or whatever your first successful venture was, right? Your brain just like, oh, this is, we've done this before.
Yeah.
You can do it once, you can do it 1,000 times. So start sooner, man. Start proving to yourself sooner.
Love that.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for making the trip.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah, Carlos, we appreciate you, brother.
And we are. This is definitely not the end of it. We're
coming to Phoenix. You heard we got a VIP.
We're going. Yeah, that's right.
VIP, we're on the floor.
But man, anything we
I'm
can
on stage
do,
with you, right?
anything we can do,
If I can
and
get Andy Frisella, I'll put you on.
anything we can do by we, I mean Darren. Anything Darren can do for you, I'm offering his services. But man, we just appreciate you, man. We're friends for life, and anything that.
God willing.
And man, and tell Joe and the family I said hello when you get back to Phoenix.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
He's probably working right now.
Probably grinding it out.
Yeah, he's
He's
doing
going
his
to lose
thing.
his retirement.
Absolutely.
He's worked towards it for 30 years.
just a selfless man. That's just hey, he's this close.
Thanks, brother.
I
really
got love
appreciate
for you
you.
guys, man.
Thank
you. Guys
you.
are great people.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate
Hopefully we can do something in the future.
We will.
God willing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God willing.
Absolutely.
All right. To wrap.
that's awesome.